good afternoon or good morning whenever you are tuning in to our podcast. This is the first one that we have done video. I am Chanda McGuffin. I am the co-founder of Rise.
And I am Sharon Fitz, also the co-founder of Rise, and we're glad that you all are joining us this afternoon, evening, in the morning.
We today we're going to be talking about an array of things, but one thing we're going to really hone in as is that we've done two signature huge events, which is the Women's Summit, and then we went into the Social Justice Conference in June, and both of them went off well. We've got some work that we have laid out from, especially the Social Justice Conference, made some powerful connections and have connected within our community as well as outside of our community, so that we can, ignite some change here locally. And so something that made this really spark in our conversation this month is I was in Walmart. I guess it's been about 2 weeks ago or so. And I was wearing our shirt that is 400 years shirt from 1619 to 2019, when the first slave the first African hit the Virginia soil here in America. And this marks 400 years. And so I was wearing that shirt in Walmart here locally, and people were looking at me like I was crazy. They were just turning around and snarl, and this one man began to follow me around Walmart. And at first I didn't think it was a big deal, and that's this man. Every time I look up, this man is right here. Can't imagine that he's coming over here. So I went all the way onto a women's aisle, and he was there too. So I know he wasn't there for that particular thing. And as I looked up, he was looking at me, so I just stared at him. And then I made a post on Facebook noting that the reality of what we have experienced in this country is real. The experiences that we go through are real, and that it just amazes me how in 2019 we are still in this same fight. And people then wonder, why Rise? Why you do Rise? How in the world can you live in this world unless you have blinders on?
Head in the sand. Yeah.
Unless you really just are lost, you stay in the house, you're a recluse or something, that you live in this society right now, and you can still say, why do we need organizations like Rise? And so then on Monday, this past Monday, we held a rally where, because the KKK was just recently in Waynesboro and showed back up again. And so we held a rally because City Council canceled their City Council meeting. And so here we are outside having a rally this past Monday, and people were asking, why are we holding a rally? Why is Rise stirring things up? What is the reason that we continue to talk about race? And so we're here to talk about why Rise.
Interestingly enough, they would ask, why are we stirring up things? But it's like, to me, when people ask that question, it's like, starting a book in the middle of it. You know what I mean? Like, there is a cause and effect. There's usually a cause that makes us decide that we need to take action. But the thing, back to what you were saying, I was thinking about the Social Justice Conference, and it was several things that we discussed and addressed on that conference. But one of the speakers talked about the mental health, or the mental the cost on your health, the mental health of racism. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, how do you live in this society, whether you're in a small rural area? Matter of fact, in the smaller rural areas is where you experience the racism the strongest. You go to big cities, and usually people are too busy, and there's so many different mix of people that they become accustomed to dealing with all kinds of cultures. But in the smaller communities, that Jim Crow, that civil war mentality. Matter of fact, real soon they're getting ready to do a reenactment here in this area of the Civil War. I mean, the spirit is always high and active, but if it touches us and we feel the need to respond, then people come at us. They don't come at the cause, the things that lead us to have an issue. And it's not just us. It's people that contact us and tell us all about the things that they're feeling, but they won't speak out. And so when we speak out on their behalf, but they're not standing behind us or beside us, when we speak, then it looks like we're, just trying to create problems. I don't have time for problems. I don't need problems. I prefer, to live in a utopia where everything is great and everyone's happy, and the kids are getting everything they need, black, white, Spanish. But that's not the reality. The reality is that black and brown children are failing academically. Black and brown adults and children are feeling the criminal justice system, the prisons and the juvenile detention centers. Black women are having children, but their babies are dying at higher risk. I mean, when you look at the number one person on every worst list there's a black people is that, whether it's health, whether it's wealth, education. I mean, the small numbers of black people and brown people that are succeeding in this world is so small that we can't get excited about it.
Then I got into a kind of a conversation today on Facebook when one of the ladies had on their Facebook page about the march, the rally on Monday, and she was going into some detail about the rally, and different people were commenting on her post, and this white gentleman said, well, it's what amount of KKK was of people came out. If there is one person that says that they are a member of the KKK, that means that one person hates me. That one person is a threat to me, my family, my son, my friends that are of brown, black, Jewish background. They are a threat. So if it's one, we really don't care about one. We care if you was attacked by 100, but if you attacked by one,
one can do the damage.
That's all you need is one, to have a hate-filled heart and spirit. And so there were some awesome comments made, and these were made by white people. They weren't black people. Other white people had made this comment. One said, well, George Zimmerman, this was a black lady, said, well, George Zimmerman was one person who saw one black child and said that he was a threat to him and killed him and got away with murder.
He said so much more than that.
It's just one.
Yep.
A white lady said, well, if you see one cockroach, there's a nest of them somewhere else.
But that was a test. See, they did that. Whoever did that, the people that did that, it was a test to see if it's a fertile ground for this. I think about how people keep trying to make us the problem, and that's the problem. We're not the problem. We're actually addressing the problem. And if you're not clear about what those problems are, we're defining those problems for you. But we're not making those problems. We're not making up anything that we're talking about, because statistically, you can go online and find proof of the things that we're talking about. But what's ridiculous is that we have a community of black people who know from firsthand personal experience everything that we address as co-founders and activists and advocates for RISE in this community. But like what I was saying back to about the KKK, that's a problem, and anyone that's pretending that it's not a problem because they only found one or two flyers, that's a problem. So
yeah, because they're trying to minimize. We are constantly having to explain our position, our concerns, because it's always, oh, it's not that big of a deal. You all are just making a big deal out of this. You are blowing it out of proportion. Was it really a threat to your son? Was it really, always want us to, did he really say it this way? Did he really mean, all this other stuff. They always want to minimize our experience in this country. And this is why we constantly have to repeat and repeat and repeat. Why are those people saying the same thing over and over? Because you're not getting it. So we have to keep repeating it and repeating it.
And finding new ways to see if we can help you to understand
and to bring it to your attention. Because if we've got to hold a conference, if we got to hold workshop, if we got to hold rallies, if we got to hold marches, if we got to write in the paper, whatever we have to do to get it through your head, this is real. And this is what the black community is experiencing on a regular basis. It amazes me, the people that say about, they have a mental illness. If there's any race of people that should have an epidemic of mental illness, it should be black people.
Absolutely.
When you think about that, when you're wondering, is your child going to get home, and
or if you're going to
get back home, if the police stop you, it's a total different experience as if they stop me.
Hell, if the police drive past you and I'm not doing anything wrong, I have no reason to be afraid. But just the fact that you see them behind you, you
tense up. You tense up because you do not know if you're going to be the next Sandra Bland.
Right,
if you're going to be the next
Trayvon person on the news. Being just. Taken through the coals, raked over the coals for someone's enjoyment.
And I know that we as black parents, we did some foolish things thinking we're going to protect our children, like when Trayvon was killed and he had that hoodie on. I took hoodies all out my son's closet. My son won't wear a hoodie to this day because of Trayvon Martin. Those until you have to live that way, and I hope that no one ever has to live that way, but that is our reality. That's how we live. That's how we think. We wonder, can you have natural hair? We wonder about our brothers who braid their hair or they wear dreads, and I'm like, I'm worried about that with my son. He wanted to dread his hair, but I was like, oh God, I can't go through. I'm trying to figure out, please don't dread your hair, please, don't braid your hair, because I'm just so worried about how we are presenting ourselves. Is he going to be feared? Is someone going to be afraid of him, that they will just kill him? We constantly, that's what we think. That's how we're thinking. And this other thing
of constantly trying to figure out, because I find myself now stuttering more, because it's like, okay, I've spoken so much. Okay, what's the word? What is the word or two or three? What is it going to take for people to stop pretending that they don't know? I mean, how many more black men and women have to die needlessly with unjustified? There's no justification for these murders, these killings of black, and yet they keep asking us why? What's the problem? I mean, if you can't see the problem, something is seriously wrong. I don't know what else to do.
Just like last week, Eric Garner. I mean, the police officer strangled him.
Used an illegal
chokehold. Choked him to death on nationwide television. You can look at him saying, I can't breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe. And the response from the police department was to go out that night with a vigil and wear shirts that says, I can breathe. And you wonder why black people are angry.
Oh, but that's done to antagonize. That's done to say, we can do whatever we want to do, and it's nothing. Just like the article in the paper that was for Rise. That was a great, awesome article. But underneath of our article, you saw the article where it was talking about the police officer that was, acquitted. Right. And so I'm sorry, but when I saw that, I thought to myself, wow, this is a great article and we're rallying against KKK, but then there's an article underneath that makes me say, or if any young person was reading it, it would say to them that, even with all of that, there's still no justice. That, you know, that you're not going to get any justice. You're rallying up here and all that's great, but underneath here, the law says that this man can do these things, and any other regular person would be in prison if they did it. But this man was acquitted.
But let's talk about that since we're right there, because this is flowing perfectly into exactly what we get to of action. Because Rise doesn't just talk. We don't just talk. We always spearhead action. And so action happens from this standpoint of how do we change that? Because we get that question. How do we change that this man got off? It comes from elected officials. It comes from local and statewide and eventually to federal.
It also comes from educated regular folks, the people who are going to be pulled in as jurors. They have to be educated as well. Because really, when you have jurors, you're bringing in people who don't really know the law, and they're not getting a class before they go in. So I mean, there has to be we have to become people who educate as well, and we have to become people who are interested in understanding the process before we are called in.
But you have to come out.
Yeah,
we're having these workshops, we're having summits, we're having trainings, we're bringing it in, we're doing it. Rise is doing it,
and bringing in the people that are
bringing
professionally
the
prepared
information.
to get,
it's not Sharon and I necessarily doing the training. We're bringing in folks from Maryland, from Northern Virginia, from
Washington,
Richmond,
DC.
We have the legal minds that are coming in and speaking and participating and ready and willing to train us. You have to come out of your house.
Yes.
You've got to attend these things. We can't keep on sitting on Facebook being Facebook vigilantes. We can't keep sitting in our house talking about, oh, ain't it a shame that boy down there got all that time.
They know you're doing all
ain't no sister going down there, chanting, sharing, stirring that up. Didn't nobody ask them to stir that stuff up? We was doing okay, and then they had to go down there and bring it. You all are part of the problem. Just to get real about it, you all are part of the problem. Black and white, if you have that sentiment, you are part of the problem. Because until we are all at the table, getting educated, getting an understanding, getting information,
and spreading it,
getting knowledge, and then taking it out from there and saying, when you meet somebody who says, I'm running for city council, you are prepared to say, what are you going to do for me?
Right. Ask very specific
These
questions.
are the issues. This. No, this is what is your view on the criminal injustice system? What is your view on or your understanding about the ordinances for hate groups coming into the city? Would you vote for hate groups to come into the city?
Right.
You got to be specific into getting those answers for those people to
what do you feel
work
about
for
school
you
to prison pipelines? You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Something very simple. It's not simple to us. It wasn't simple to us. Something very simple. There should never be. Should have never been a law written to allow the mayor of Waynesboro to cancel a city council meeting at his discretion. That law should have never been allowed. But you know why it is? Because you weren't at city council meeting. We weren't there to discuss that when they opened it up to the floor.
Right.
We were.
And they have the authority to act in your absence.
They have the authority to make the decision and vote because you weren't there to even give a second thought.
They have enough for a quorum. That's all they need.
That's all they need. Because you already have voted for them to lead your city. That's why it matters if you vote. That's why it matters if you go out and you say, who is the sheriff? Who is the chief of police? Who are your DAs? Who is your prosecutor? Do you know these people? Because if you don't know these people, you're part of the problem. That's the main issue that we have. See, you got to be setting the stage. Lord forbid if your child was to end up downtown. You know what? When my child end up downtown, if he ever, Lord knows, I'm not going to speak that into his life. They going to say, that's Chandler McGuffin's son. They going to know right off the bat. You see? So you have to know these people, and you've got, if you don't have your people, Kafani said that, King Kafani said that, if you don't have
If they don't know your number,
if they don't know that number, when it pop up on the phone,
then you're
not doing your job.
Yeah.
You're not doing your job. You can ask any city official, when they see my number, they see my name, they know exactly who I am. They know exactly who I am.
Yeah.
We've got to change the way we've been doing things. We got to stop accepting the scraps from the table. We have got to. Rise is not about Sharon and I. Rise is about you.
Right.
Rise is about what you can see yourself being a part of the change that's necessary within our community. Because if you're not, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem.
We've talked about a lot of things tonight, but what's most important for us is that you all understand is that education, Rise is about educating you on your rights, educating you on, what we need to do to come together, and reminding you that we are all responsible for each other. So I'm gonna let you close out on that.
Yeah, we're gonna be going over the state of Virginia. We're gonna be going on a little mini tour to show, present the workshop, Know Your Rights. We have some people in place to be able to do that. So I know we're going to be doing it in Waynesboro, Richmond, and plan on doing it in the Tidewater Market, probably Norfolk. And August the 12th is this next city council meeting. We need to pack the house.
Yes.
We need everyone at that city council meeting. August the 12th at 7 o'clock. Anyone who wants to speak can speak. There is a open community sign up at the back. But we need to pack that house just like we packed the house for taxes and raising the taxes and whether to raise the taxes. And they went all the way into the wee hours of the night discussing that. But we need to care about black and brown skinned people the same way we care about taxes. And so we'd like to see you all out on August the 12th at 7 o'clock at the next Waynesboro City Council meeting. We thank you guys for watching us.
Thank you.
We thank you for tuning in. And we look forward to, in August, having a follow-up and having our next podcast.
And we'll see you at City Council meeting on the 12th.
Thank you.